Hello, I'm Tom Terry. I'm the president of the board of Ocean Pines Association, and I was elected to the board in 2010.
Hello, I'm John McLaughlin. I'm vice president of the board, and I've been a member since 2008.
I'm Pete Gomsack, and I was elected to the board in 2009. I'm the treasurer of the organization, and so I'm in my second year on the board.
Hi, I'm Rick Handelman. I was appointed to the board by these gentlemen in 2010.
Hi, I'm Les Purcell. I'm the secretary of the board, and I'm serving my fourth term as we speak.
Hi, I'm Dave Stevens. I was re-elected for my second term in 2010.
And I'm Ray Unger. This is my second term on the board in Ocean Pines.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. We got Bob's presentation on the budget. Les, you have a motion. Ray, you say you have a motion. In that order. Public comment and adjourn. Robert, it's all yours.
All right, well, following last week's board meeting, as we discussed, went back and I spoke with several of the board members individually, Mr. Stevens, Mr. Unger, in particular with some ideas of ways to trim from the budget. In front of you, and Mr. Stevens or Gomsack, did you guys get the email from earlier today?
We have printouts of it right here in front of us. You're talking about the 3 pages of schedules with the 66 lines?
Yes.
Yes, we have, both of us have copies in front of us.
Okay, all right, I just didn't want to be talking with something you didn't have there. Sure. Anybody else wants a copy? They were in your boxes, gentlemen, for the additional changes that were recommended. And they weren't, what was interesting when we went back through this, they weren't specific in nature from a standpoint of make a change here, make a change there. They were a little more broad brush, but with a bottom line number in mind. The range that was given to me after several conversations was another $7 to $10 decrease in assessment for the year. And when I say decrease, it's still an increase from last year, but reduce it by $10. You'll notice the bottom line, that the bottom line is we've decreased it 7 to 10. We actually decreased it $10.04. I'll go over the numbers with you. There are 2 columns that I want to pay attention to. The revision of 2/23/2011, okay? And then if you back up to the 216 column, 216 is what was presented originally at the board meeting last week. You notice the numbers from that column actually carry over to the 223 column. Okay, and that was just for clarification to see, in addition to that, we've included these numbers. The third item down, we've further reduced HR support by another 10 hours, which annually makes a change of $11,213. The overall decrease in the budget, which is the next line item, which is $84,788. We removed, I'm skipping the $5,000 because you need to understand what that is. If you go to the next one, $60,000 number, that is removal of the info technology position. However, in doing so, we had to go back and add contract services for information technology back into each of the areas of the budget, and you'll see that number repeated in several areas of $5,000, with the exception of a $2,000 or $2,500 adjustment later down the line. Nick, yes, sir. Do you got it?
We're good.
Okay. Reduced admin assistant hours from 30 to 15, which was originally there. However, we had to increase computer services for that department because we've reduced that position. We increased computer services in finance. Membership, CPI was only a $2,000 increase. And again, those increases, direct reflection of reducing the personnel. Public Works, we had reduced the labor from 3 to 2, and then we additionally reduced another hours to get us down by another $11,000. Computer services increased there. Rec supervisor, we'd already done. Increased computer services in that department. Police had an increase in computer services. The next item of aquatics, we'd already made the membership dues, the cash, the contracts, all the way down. Those adjustments had already been made in the budget, and that's why they're just duplicated side to side.
That was the removal, mostly the removal of the pool maintenance
Correct.
product.
Correct. Correctional and summary sheet maintained. We did have increase in computer services. New capital items, the van, the bleachers, scoreboard were already, adjustments had already been made. Replacement reserves, the reduction, the two areas that have been adjusted in the budget here that were not there before is we removed the signs and we decreased the contribution to drainage reserve account. Those totals come up to $84,788, or a $10.04 decrease in the budget request for this year per assessment.
Reducing the originally proposed $45 increase to $35, correct?
Yes, sir?
And maintaining the $30 five-year funding plan, which is $26 additional for the capital, $4 for deficit reduction. So these adjustments are $10 is, you've already spelled out the specific line items that that $10 comprises, so.
Correct, and most of it's operational, as you can see when you look at this.
Bob, one thing Dave and I do not have here, which is our budget book, and we forgot them. But the adjustment that was made to the drainage, the 29,000 leaves a contribution in there of how much now?
125.
125,000.
25.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. We just didn't have that number in front of us.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, thanks.
sure. Any other questions?
Is that it?
That's it. That was direct result of the conversations I had with several of you.
In that case, going on with the agenda.
Dave?
Dave?
You're looking at the $10 is roughly half of the cost savings that we realized from the fire department agreement.
Yes,
That's
sir.
about right,
That's
yeah.
correct.
So basically, we're saying, we're looking at that cost savings and saying some of that cost savings is going to be used to cover what I'll call new initiatives, and some of that, and half of that cost savings is going to be used to abate the planned increase in assessment planned as per the original 5-year plan. Okay.
Sure. I mean, I don't mean to say yes. I mean, the numbers add up to that. Yes.
And this is in line with the discussions that you personally had with Ray and Dave.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
Okay.
you know, this was my rationale from the beginning, and I'm not trying to put words in everybody else's mouth, but I want to be able to explain it in my own words and be sure that it's at least correct.
Yes. Yes.
I think it is that basically because of the agreement, we have reduced costs of operations, and some of those reduced costs are going to be passed back in the forms of assessments, and we can agree or not agree, on that, but I mean, I think, you know.
Well, I think that's a
correct
fact,
way to
yeah, the
consider
savings over the fire department from the prior year equate to a certain sum of dollars, and that sum of dollars has been translated into production and expenses in this revised budget, which results in a $10 decrease in the otherwise proposed assessment, right?
Yes, and please understand, my hesitation to agree when Mr. Stevens said it the first time was I was just calculating numbers in my head. You know, 174 approximate savings on the fire department, half of that, you know, and then that's what the realized savings is. So that would be correct.
That's the adjustment that's being made. Let's be clear here.
Yeah, we're not.
Yeah,
Yeah, let's be clear here, guys, that this is the adjustment that is being made today. We've already removed the pool maintenance, the van, and many other things in the first round. So this isn't the only adjustment that we made to this budget as we've gone through this.
No, and that's clear enough, I think, in what Bob
Okay, all right.
put out.
By the way, this, I compliment you on this presentation here because it allows us to see the progression of the various budget scenarios, the columns B, C, D, and each one at different dates. So,
good. Well, I know, you know, knowing is tough to track over a 7-week period. I was trying to just find a way to do it, so.
It's been a while.
That, I guess one of the things that I would wish to see, though I'm not sure that it kind of is what it is at this point in time, but is given the reductions that we made from the original budget in the personnel area, you know, where, I mean, I'd like to sort of know, okay, at this point in time, assuming this budget is D1, where do we stand? How many people are we hiring? I can figure out the total numbers, by the way. You know, in terms of how many dollars we're increasing personnel for. But I don't know exactly, because I just don't have all the information with me, how many people we're hiring and what areas and so forth. I don't suppose you have something like that.
No, I did not. No, I just took it from where we were and made some additional cuts.
but Bob, somewhat responsive to that, there were, as I recall it, 4 newly created positions in the original budget, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you've eliminated one of them, at least in this round of adjustments here, and that's the IT position, correct?
We've eliminated 3 to date.
Oh, yeah, but today I said.
Yes, sir. There's one yes.
Yeah.
Yes. The only one that I have not moved off of and I have not removed is the chef, because I believe it's a necessity moving forward with the yacht club.
And I think we've said you need the flexibility to do what you need to do there. But the IT position, we've always understood, and you presented it to us from day one, that the elimination of that position would not have a corresponding decrease on the budget because we're already paying contractual services, and we've highlighted each of the individual items here, 5,000 here, 25,000, 100 there, and so forth. You've also, one of those 4 newly created positions is the HR position, and essentially you've scaled back on that from a full-time to something less than a full-time, correct?
Dramatically, yes.
Much less.
Yes. So those are there were 4 newly created positions in the original budget, and so there was the IT, chef, HR,
Rec and Parks.
and Rec and Parks. And you've already dealt previously with the Rec and Parks, and so I think that's where, and the others were all part-time or seasonal kind of employees, the most significant number having been associated with
The yacht club.
the new initiative of the aquatics, and that we requested that you remove that from the budget as well, right?
Well, yeah, but please keep in mind, one of the big differences was the yacht club was scheduled to be closed. The budget has to be compared year over year, and there seems to be a lot of confusion. The yacht club is supposed to scheduled to be closed for this budget cycle we're going through. So a portion of the increase, although folks have argued it's a dramatic increase, is just going back to the year prior to similar numbers that we had for prior years when we were open for longer periods. We had scheduled to close the yacht club from December until approximately May. So
the budget prior year is when you're closed down, and
yes,
the new budget is when you're not closed down.
That's correct, and that's correct.
We get it. I get have him in here.
Okay. John?
Yeah,
Anything?
I fortunately get it, but it's also part of the law firm that I have with creating new positions as part of a budget process. One of the things that I had suggested as an alternative, and and I only gave it to you as a suggestion, Bob, so there's no criticism, but one of the things I had suggested to Bob is that, if you were looking at, as a basic principle, replacing some of the money, or returning some of the money, let's just put it that way, as we are doing, that, and if it all came out of personnel, that one of the ways that could be done was to look at least time phase for new positions in the budget. In other words, if you're going to hire, let's just say, a full-time IT guy, it would be feasible to look at hiring a full-time IT guy 6 months into the budget year. Therefore, the budget, the immediate budget impact being only half of an IT guy. All right. Now, that may not be a feasible solution, but I'm just giving it as an example. And the same thing would be possibly true with an HR guy. So, we would hire an HR guy after we determined whether or not it was more cost beneficial to hire an HR guy or to have an HR company or a consulting company. And I could go down the list of things that where you might be hiring somebody in for a partial year in the first year. Now, I put a caveat on that Bob didn't like. I said, look, if you're going to, budget like that, and by the way, you can reach the numbers by putting in partial years. If you're going to budget like that, then you have to consider those things as conditional. When we get to them, we approve them. And in other words, they're not able to go out and hire them on the first day. So, Bob has not chosen to do that. I think
That's correct, I have not. I'm not going to limit my ability to do my job by having to come to the board for every position I move. The bylaws allow me to make the changes. Our attorney confirmed it, so.
Allow you to do, okay, with respect to a new position. As a matter of fact, you have to do the board, but it's up to the board to approve any new positions, and that's specifically in the bylaws, and Joe Moore didn't rule on that. And with respect to new positions, then, you can approve them, and the bylaws say so, we can approve them as part of the budget process.
Yeah, I don't want to get, my personal opinion is I don't want to get into the business of hiring people into a position for half a year in the budget, so the budget adds up, and then the next year you've got an employee who's got a full year's salary in the next year budget, but you made it the current year because you started them at different times. Yeah, you can, if you're a really, really big company, you can do stuff like that. It's not a non-standard approach, but it certainly isn't one that I think we ought to use, in my view, to move on. But, I think, it was a suggestion, and I think the decision was made not to follow it. And I'm assuming, Bob, you did mention that to me, and I got that from Dave. And,
well, I chose not to.
To me, I think it's just a matter of, I want to be clear, if we hire somebody the following year, they're going to be an employee for the full year. So,
well, but Tom, but to the point of...
When we make the decision to hire them, okay, they are hired as a full-time employee, and they will be in next year's budget by definition.
Right.
But I'm saying that before we do that, though, we look at the situation at that point in time and say, look, is this still a reasonable thing to do or not? Not try and make all the decisions at one point in time now, when we don't have all of the information, we can make the decision.
I think we're going to pass on that one, I think, at this point.
Yeah, I certainly want to approve this budget and understand that Bob doesn't have to come back to us when he wants to hire Mary Lou or George. We've already approved it as part of the budget process. I want him to be able to do his job, as he said.
Yep. Well, I think we're there. You can't see it around the room, guys, but I'm getting some head nods that we can move on at this point.
Okay, we haven't had a motion made as yet, have we?
Not yet. I'm
Okay.
looking to see if there's any more questions of Bob. John, any questions? Ray? Any questions? Rick?
No, but I'd like to discuss the budget more, and discuss a couple points before we get it.
Well, we can do that under discussion. We
Well,
can do
sure.
that. Les, any questions of Bob?
I don't have a question, but I have a motion. I move the adoption of the proposed FY 2012 budget, which budget reflects total revenues of $9,091,288 and operating expenses and transfers of $9,091,288. A basic assessment of $843 and capital expenditures of $1,378,110. I'm sorry. The aforementioned budget is a revised version of that one presented at the public hearing held on January 22nd and reflects changes resulting from the extensive review process involving Budget and Finance Committee and the Board of Directors.
What's the assessment?
843.
We'll pass out the copies of it. You got copies of that?
I have copies.
What's it now?
What's the increase in it?
If there's no second, I'd be pleased to second it. If there's a second motion there, fine.
We got a second.
Okay, good. I didn't hear anything. Okay.
Okay, got a second from John, discussion. Rick,
You want a second, or you can go first?
No, I just second the motion, that's all.
I'm glad,
Is someone offering some discussion or something?
Yeah, Rick is, Rick. you just-
I'm glad for the cuts that were made. I think they were very good. I don't think we went far enough. I
I'm
think
sorry,
we,
Rick, is that you? Closer to the speaker, he can't hear you.
and it's good. The motion, I think, didn't go far enough. Proposal, rather. I think we should take $10 as we have from the operations, and another $10 from reserves, and make the increase 25. I think that we don't need all the reserves now. I know we need them in the future, but I think this year is a year we should take some time and let people have their money. We give Bob the opportunity, I think, with this budget to drive revenues, but and it's a good budget that way. I think it's a test for all of us, but I really feel like we can cut the reserves some. We'll still have some reserves, not enough, I understand, but I think we'll get to as time goes on.
I have no further points to discuss. I think we've had long and lengthy discussions and analysis and so forth, so I'm prepared to vote on the motion.
Yeah, Rick does understand, as a new board member, that he can move to amend the motion if he so wishes. I mean, that would be the appropriate thing to do.
Right?
But he needs a second.
I personally don't think it goes quite far enough. However, I do appreciate the fact that Bob has done what he's done to get it to this point. When we were looking a couple of years ago, when the 5-year plan was put together, it was a 5-year plan. And at that time, we didn't realize that we were going to get a little break from what we needed to pay the fire department of $176,000, that the golf course might be doing better by $180,000, and we'd have less of a manager, and there's going to be a surplus of $174,000 that we have this year. and casino money coming in. So these are dollars that we're looking at income or potential income that over and above what was even thought about in the 5-year plan 2 years ago, and I think we should take that in a little bit more consideration.
And $500,000 less, or actually $800,000 less from the county.
You're talking about roads?
I am.
You're talking about roads, that's 500, yeah, well, the casino money that's coming in is probably they're gonna put it, it's gonna have to go.
You want us to budget on probably?
We do every year.
But that was Ray Unger speaking, I imagine, right?
Yeah,
That's
that was
right.
Ray.
Yeah. Let me just respond very briefly. Ray, you referred to the situation when we developed the 5-year plan and some positive things that have happened since then. There have been, but there have also been negative things that have happened since then that more than outweigh the positive things. So we're not better off today than we were when we developed that particular plan. Including the $500,000 no longer available to us for the road funding, including the $500,000 for the Swim and Racket Club pool and decks, including the, never mind, we've been through this ad nauseum, but the situation is what it is, and it's not rosier than it was a couple years ago. We've had some good things, and some things are not so good. So, in any event, that's it.
At the end of this year, budgetarily, we will still be in the hole for the amount of money we've received in the 5-year plan. So that money is not sitting there waiting to be spent, it's already been spent. John, any comments?
Just call the vote.
Call the vote.
Okay, I will call the vote. I'm going to go on the phone. I don't know how you guys want to do this down there, but
We're going to raise our hands.
you're going to raise your hand. And then you can tell me whether you agreed or not. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Pete and Dave, how'd you vote?
2 ayes from Florida.
To what?
2 ayes from Florida.
Okay, all opposed? Okay, motion passes 5-2.
5-2.
Yes.
Those in opposition were
Ray and Rick,
Ray and Rick. Thank
which
you.
is okay. Ray, you had a motion that he got to me before you did, so.
That's okay.
Is that okay?
Disregard.
Okay. Rick, do you want to do an amendment motion? No? Okay. All right.
Can't amend the motion once it's been passed.
Well, but he can make another motion. He's allowed to do that.
He can make another motion, sure, but he can't amend the one that's already passed.
Correct. And he said no. I know these rules to somewhat, guys.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's.
I'll make a motion to hang up on them.
I got it to somewhere. Okay, guys, we're going to move on to public comment,
Probably would come down. So,
and we'll go to public comment and then media. Public comment. Joe?
Thank you. Joe Reynolds, 84 Watertown Road. Got one thing I wanted to touch on that was periphery related to the budget, and I'll get to that in a second. But in regard to what was just done here and said, Les, you mentioned that you can't budget on maybe. A budget is maybes. Maybe we'll make so much out of income from the yacht club. Maybe we won't. Maybe we'll get so much income from it. A budget is totally a maybe. Totally maybe.
Okay, hey, Joe, hang on a second. Les, could you move over a chair and let anybody who wants to speak come up to the table and speak? So the guys that are not here with us can hear, if you don't mind. Joe, you got to get on your own camera now.
Oh, my God.
Smile real low.
But Joe, you're at the table. You can have
Put a big teethy one there.
Joe, you can have a cookie. You're at the table.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Joe.
My initial comment was about Les's comment about the funds from the lottery, that he said that he asked Ray or somebody if he wanted to budget on a maybe, but a budget is by definition a maybe. We have none of the income coming in the budget, none, other than dues, of course. Of course, this year maybe we won't. I'm going to be blunt about this next statement. Dave Stevens isn't down in the weeds. He's burrowing underground. He's playing with the roots. We're talking about $10, gentlemen, is $84,000 in a $10 million budget. And the 4 people who the last time this board met voted not to approve the budget, and then in the face of people in the audience wanting their assessments reduced, regardless of what anybody thinks about the budget itself, pro or con, to reduce this budget after all this by $10, $84,000 and $10 million is, in my view, the height of absurdity. And I can't imagine where are you guys coming from who voted against it and then voted for this. It's beyond me. But at any rate, that's what you've done. The actual issue I wanted to touch on today is related to the budget because I believe we have in the budget an item for approximately $600,000 for a yacht club, pool deck, and pump house. $600,000 is a lot of money. Now, I've been to most of these meetings and I've heard some discussion of it, but not in any great detail. $600,000 may be the largest amount spent on one project for a long, long time around here, other than the community center. I would like to ask the board, given $600,000, that the board get all the information on this and hold a special meeting of some kind on this to inform the community as to why this is needed. Now, I've heard that the pump house is somewhat dangerous because it gets water in it. I've heard that the people get some splinters from the wood deck. I've heard that the side of the wood deck may not meet code in that the stringers are farther apart than the code allows today, but not when they were put in. But consider this, that same pump house has been there for 40 years. A wood deck has been there for 40 years. Now, I don't know what the problems are with the electrical work or whatever in the pump house, but something tells me, my native intelligence tells me that we might be able to do something over there for less than $600,000. That's a lot of money. And it's kind of like under the radar almost. Nobody's even talking about it. Second biggest expenditure probably in 10 years. A lot of money. But anyway, I hope you will give that project some consideration. Now, I know it does not impact the assessment because, as Pete has pointed out a number of times, it has impacted the assessment over time in that the money we have been putting in is now in the reserves that we would take that money out of to do the work. So it may not cost money now, but it still costs money because if you don't spend all that and you only spend $300,000, that means there's $300 to spend on something else, and you don't have to take $300 more out of the assessment money in the future to fund that. So in the end, it all comes from association members. Anyway, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Grab your cookie. At least get a cookie out of it, Joe.
You guys are missing the cookies down in Florida.
Here, Pete, you want one?
I do, I want a chocolate chip.
All right.
What they are.
There's a beer all left.
Is that it, Tom?
No, you got one more guy gonna harass you. This is Dick Neiman, 45 Wood Duck. I'm sorry I missed you all's show. I was out of the country when you had your previous vote.
We planned it.
And I was glad that you didn't vote the budget in because at that point in time I got to come back and say this one more time. But while I appreciate everything that I've seen going on in the scrubbing of the budget, I appreciate the enthusiasm that Bob has in this budget, recognizing that if we do the same thing year after year, you usually get the same result. And I hope Bob can meet everything that he says. Putting that aside, there's always a however. I'm still very concerned from what I'm guessing is still $700,000 worth of increase in operating based on $800,000 increase in revenue. It's the 20% increase in revenue. Now, many have tried, and I've been following this since 1984. I don't know of anybody that has made a 20% increase in revenue in Ocean Pines history. And if they have, I'd like to know who it was. Maybe we could get them back. With that in mind and the fact that you passed the budget, Bob's under the gun to produce $800,000 more of revenues than we had in the prior year. I guess if I were the conservative person that I am, some of these operating costs, you should be very careful in having those executed until you start seeing that revenue stream. Now, I understand that the revenue stream doesn't come on without the people that Bob says he needs to produce the revenues. But I hope we're not sitting here roughly this time next year throwing darts at each other because $800,000 of revenue didn't materialize, which is roughly $90 per unit. Because if that happens, God help us. I'd much rather see a more conservative increase of $200,000 in operating, $200,000 of revenues. If that happened, then let's go after the other $600,000 next year. You could show me what's happened. Then I would hope that if that does materialize, then we could use the revenues from the casino, whatever we get, to start putting in the roads program again, because I don't think it's going to come from the state of Maryland for a long time. So thanks for listening again. I'm going to bypass that chocolate chip cookie and give that to someone else.
Can I have it?
I'm a little afraid because John brought those in.
Me.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm not gonna say anything, I'll eat the cookie.
Welcome to them.
Medium?
You can come and get it, but you'll be on tape. I'm poor, I'm on the fixed thing.
Make a motion that we adjourn.
Oh, okay. I'll second the motion to adjourn.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Motion to eat cookies.